long story short, I have a need for a Windows computer again. I didn't think it would happen, but here we are. So I picked up this laptop a while ago, and I'm going to try and release these videos in the same series, I guess. So this might be the next video from the one that you've seen last week or a few days ago, depending on how busy I actually get with these uploads. So I have an Alienware M11X R3. In the last video, I had traded a computer for it, and then I ended up restoring it and making it into something usable. Now I'm going to be doing a full clean install. I'm going to wipe the entire thing, and I'm going to be installing Windows 10 on it. So the first thing you have to do is make a Windows USB installer. Once you have that done, then we can go over to the laptop. This is the laptop in question. You can see that the USB stick is already in there. So all we need to do is install Windows 10, and then I'm going to show you how to make it more of a minimalist setup and then debloat it, so that way there's not a lot of stuff in the background. So this is essentially making a clean minimalist install of Windows. And you can do this to any computer. I've done it in the past before where I've actually had really good results with it. Improving boot time, improving battery life, gain a little bit more storage back to your computer. There's tons of benefits to this, and once we get into this, you're actually going to see that it's really easy. So first thing we have to do is install Windows 10. So the first thing that we're doing here is, well, obviously we have the USB in the laptop, and we're going to be hitting the power and then immediately pressing F12, which is going to bring up the boot menu. We're hitting F12, and you can see that we've selected the boot options. So now we're just going to go down to USB storage, and now it's booting off the USB stick to our Windows 10 installer. Okay, so time and currency format, we're going to go up to English Canada land. Next, install. So now for this laptop here, this originally came with Windows 7. You can use any Windows 7 or newer product key and register a copy of Windows 10 because of the free upgrade that they had available, which essentially just turned your Windows 7 product key into a Windows 10 product key, because the Windows 10 product keys are cross-platform from Windows 7 and newer. So we can just take the product key for the Windows 7 version on this to actually have a full licensed version ready to go. I just entered the Windows 7 product key that was on the bottom of this laptop, and we are good to go, ready to install. So we're just going to accept everything, go to custom. Now here, I'm just going to delete everything. We're going to get rid of all of these partitions, every single one. With all the partitions gone, you can see that this is the 1TB SSD that we installed in the previous video of upgrading this laptop and making it into something a little bit better. And all we have to do is just hit next, and now it's going to be installing Windows. Okay, so now we can just go through the setup here, and I'm basically going to do the absolute minimum. So all we've done so far is we selected our region, which was Canada. We used the standard US keyboard. We didn't add another keyboard, and we've connected to the Wi-Fi. Now, I'm going to be using a Microsoft account on this. However, if you want to use a local account, they've basically changed it so you can't use a local account at all anymore. But if you don't connect to Wi-Fi first, and now you get to this screen, you can only do the local account. Because I've already connected to Wi-Fi and I am going to be using a Microsoft account, I am going to sign in normally. Otherwise, you can just use a local account if you don't connect to Wi-Fi. Now, the reason I'm using a Microsoft account is because I am a Microsoft developer. Having this ability will give me the option to get insider preview builds as they're released on their developer channel. Whereas if you have a local account and you're not signed in, then you have to download the ISO files, and then you have to do clean installs every single time. So for this instance, I'm using the insider development channel, and I'm going to be developing on Windows with this laptop. So I need to be signed in for this one. However, normally, just a personal preference, I always like using a local account. Now, when you're setting up the PIN, you can just do something simple, but if you actually want a full password, you can just include letters and symbols, and then you can just type out a full password. This is where I'm going to be turning pretty much everything off. So location, I don't want location on. I don't want the find my device on. Don't send anything back. Don't need ink or typing enabled. I don't need anything tailored to my experience. Don't need anything for my advertising ID. Now, the previous screen before this one was asking if you want to send a text message to your phone, which will allow you to download the Your Phone app. And then your text messages, pictures, everything will be synced automatically to your computer. For having a completely seamless integration, having a Microsoft account on your computer and then downloading that to your phone makes an extremely simple setup. It's very iCloud-ish, but with any Windows laptop, any Android phone. So the versatility between the two devices is far greater than using a MacBook and an iPhone. However, I primarily use Linux and Google Drive to sync everything, so I don't need to use this. So I'm gonna just skip that. And as for OneDrive here, like I mentioned, Google Drive. So I'm only gonna be saving files on this PC, and then I'll be syncing Google Drive after for all of the files to go between this and my Linux machines, as well as the Android phones that I have. I'm not gonna be using Office. I don't want Cortana. Now this part here is just specific to the Insider build. It will always crash at this step. I've already submitted bug reports for this, and this is the latest version from the dev channel that I tried to install, and clearly the next version is not fixed still. All I have to do here is just turn the computer off, and when I turn it back on, it'll finish up like normal. So all we're gonna do is hold the power button, turn the computer back on, and now it'll continue with the rest of the setup just like it normally should have. So if you're running the Windows Insider dev channel or beta, it may still actually be in the beta as well, then that's how to get around this issue. But if you're using a regular release candidate or the actual public release of Windows 10, then that's not going to be an issue, and it's just going to continue essentially to this screen where it says just a moment, and then it's going to start getting everything ready after it says hi. We are in Windows 10, and as you can see, it is the Insider preview. We're running build 20231. 20235 I actually think is the latest one, so there should actually be an update for this. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do here is install OBS, so that way we're not actually using this camera anymore. We're just going to clean everything up that's in the background. We're going to start making it look minimalist. So we'll just go to Edge, and we're gonna let it load this page here to download the new Edge that's Chromium based. Gotta love classic Edge, working great. Okay, so we're gonna skip that. We're just gonna go straight to OBS. Okay, so we're gonna download the installer for Windows, and we're just gonna run this because we're not gonna need it more than once. We may need the Visual Studio Framework for this because we haven't done any Windows updates or anything. Yeah, so we're gonna need the Visual Studio Runtime Framework. Oh, well done OBS, well done. Okay, it brought us right to it, but normally you would have to find latest redistribute pack. So this one here is for 2017, but the pack is actually from 15 to 19. So when you find that on the website, or on the Microsoft website, you'll find this pack between 2015 to 2019, and then there's the 64 and the 32-bit version, the x86, which I know that Origin requires the same pack, but it requires the 32-bit version, the x86. So if you're doing anything with Origin after, you're gonna also need to download that. And if you don't know what Origin is, then don't worry about it. Okay, so we're gonna run that again. And now that the proper runtime framework is installed, it should just go without any issues. We're just gonna speed through this. We're gonna quickly set OBS up, so we're actually gonna launch this. Okay, so I will not be streaming. Next, it's gonna start testing the frame rate with different resolutions that it supports, and it's gonna pick the most appropriate one that it thinks for us. So we're just gonna apply these settings, go to settings, and then down here under video, we're gonna go to the output scale resolution, and we're gonna change this to the full resolution of the computer. So that way you guys are actually going to see the full resolution that I'm seeing, which will then end up being upscaled to 1920 by 1080. So now I'm just going to make sure that the video folder where it's actually exporting these is going to be the videos folder, which it is. This resolution is too small to actually see the entire thing, so I'm just going to apply that. Okay. Now we're going to add a display capture, and you can see that the mouse is moving and it's just lagging out a bit. So there we go. So now we have OBS going, and you can already see that the microphone's working right out of the box and everything. So Windows 10 already has default drivers for this that are working. So all we have to do now is start recording. And now we're on OBS, so I can switch over to the computer here, and we can just continue on from where we were. So minimalist, you gotta think minimalist. what are we gonna do? We're gonna get rid of everything. We're gonna make it look clean. So the first thing here is we wanna clean all this up. There's too much stuff down here in the lower right corner. We're going to just go to the Action Center, you know, clear all notifications, get rid of those. We're gonna right click on it, and we don't want to show any notifications. So the notifications are already gone. So that's like step one. So if you still want this quick access to things, then you can keep that there. However, we're gonna go over to the start button, go to settings, and then in here, I'm gonna go to personalize. And now we're gonna go through here, just kind of like a checklist. Colors, first thing we're gonna do, dark mode, obviously. Save battery life, save your eyes when you're in a dark room. Now this computer isn't the greatest, so we turn transparency effects off just to give it a little gray everywhere instead of the transparent all the way to the background, which will help with performance, but I'm gonna leave that on. For the color, I'm just gonna pick like a generic gray so that way we don't have super bright accents on everything. But that's it for the color section here. So now we're gonna go to the lock screen. We're just gonna change this just to a regular picture so that way it's not refreshing all the time. We're gonna turn off the facts, that way it's not doing anything in the background, and we're just gonna disable all of these. So that way there are no quick statuses on the actual lock screen itself, so there's gonna be nothing. It's just gonna be a picture, just log in, and you're ready to go. And then I'm also gonna turn off the lock screen background, so that way when you're actually typing your password, it opens it up really quick, and it doesn't have to load the picture essentially again, because it's gonna have the filter over top of it with the clock and everything on the lock screen. So that's just another step that's gone. Then we're gonna go to themes. Before we go this, I'm just gonna minimize this real quick. And if you go to the File Explorer icon down here, and you right click on it, you can see that there's, you know, some quick options here to go. But if you just take the recycle bin and drag it onto File Explorer, now you have a quick option for recycle bin. So you could just right click, recycle bin, and now you're there. So it's a really quick way to get there. So that's just one feature that I like to add. And now with that there, we can go to the desktop icon settings and we can remove the recycle bin. So that way it's not on the desktop anymore. So that was it for the theme section. We're gonna skip fonts. We're just gonna leave those stock. For the start menu, we're going to disable all of these things down here. So we're gonna get rid of the File Explorer quick access there. We don't wanna show suggestions in the start menu for installing apps and stuff. And we don't wanna show any recently used apps. So it's just gonna be what we want, because for the best productivity, if you want to open something, for instance, user account control, you just start typing and then it comes up. So we can go to the user account control here, which is that super annoying pop-up that comes up to say that you're doing something that requires administrative privileges and you want to continue. If we just drag this all the way down and click OK, it's going to bring another one of those up, but now when we click yes, that's never going to come up again. So that's it. We never have to worry about that pop-up ever again. That's gone now. So we're gonna go to the taskbar section here. We're gonna scroll down because now we wanna lighten this load up down here. So we're gonna go down to turn system icons on or off. In here, we're gonna uncheck the input indicator because we only selected one keyboard for this. We only have one keyboard. We're not using different languages, different keyboards, so we don't need that on. So we can just disable that and it'll get rid of the language thing. So now that's gone. Now for this, I want the absolute most minimal setup, so I'm also going to get rid of the Action Center entirely. With the Action Center gone, there's no point for the notifications, so we can actually just go back to the settings home. That was the last section here in the personalization. So we've gone through all of those and we don't need to do any more. So we can go back to the settings home. We're gonna go to System, and now in here, we can go to the notifications and actions. And we can just uncheck all of these, which you don't have to uncheck them. I just uncheck them so that way if this box just gets ticked, it's not going to reactivate all of these settings. So now we can do that one. And now all of the notifications are off. So they're not gonna come up in the notification panel that's gone. When I was doing IT work, I had tons of people. I still don't know how they did this. They would get their laptops stuck in Windows 10 tablet mode, which essentially doesn't have a desktop. It makes it the start bar all the time. So it opens the start bar full screen with all the apps over. So it's essentially the Windows 8 Metro with Windows 10 combined. And I've had countless customers come in where they're stuck in this and they can't figure out how to get out because they don't know what they did. To avoid that issue, anybody's computer that I'm ever using, especially ones that don't have a touchscreen, so there's really no reason to even have this feature enabled for computers that don't have a touchscreen, is these two settings right here. This one we can go to don't switch to tablet mode, which is currently already selected. So I think Microsoft actually started figuring it out because it was always to ask before switching modes. Don't switch. And then this says use the appropriate mode for my hardware. we're just gonna manually select never use tablet mode. So that way, even if a driver or if you're hooking up, let's say like a Wacom tablet and it detects that it may be a tablet, you know, it might switch. So this is just taking every precaution to make sure that the computer does not ever think that it's a tablet. We're basically done in here. As for these icons down here, to make this a little bit cleaner, we're going to remove mail. We're going to remove the shortcut to buy Office because we've already declined the serial number for that. Right here, we have the task viewer, we have Cortana, and then we have the search. So we're going to right click just in a blank space on the taskbar here. We're going to uncheck Show Task View button, right click again, Show Cortana button, we're going to uncheck that one, and we're going to right click again, go to Search, and go to Hidden. So now it's just icons, and then over here is clean as well, but there's some hidden ones. We're going to click this here, this little arrow to go up into the little box. We're going to remove the icon for the Bluetooth, exit the tray for the Intel graphics. We're going to right click on OneDrive, and like I mentioned, I'm using Google Drive, so we're not ever going to be using this. So we're going to go to Settings, now that it's open, and then we're going to go over to the actual Settings tab up on the top left here. And we're going to make sure that this never starts when Windows is signed in. Then we're going to right click on this again, close OneDrive. It's never going to open by itself again. Already, we have a much cleaner setup. Tons of things are removed, nice and dark at the bottom here. But when we click on Start, now we have all these tiles in the corner. These, I'm just going to unpin all of them. I don't want any of them here. And I really wish there was a way to get rid of these faster. Those are gone. We have a giant empty space, so that you can just drag the mouse right up to the edge here, and we just drag it over. Now we have a nice clean start bar. As for all of these applications that are pre-installed and ones that it's currently installing in the background right now, you can see Spotify is being installed. We're going to remove these in a later step, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Now we're going to click on File Explorer, and you'll see that the first thing it's going to do is go to that quick start thing or quick access. So we're just going to minimize that. We don't want to look at that. We're going to go to this PC, you know, just like an old computer where you go to My Computer and it opens up with the hard drive and all your folders and everything. Now that we're on this screen, we're going to go to View up here at the top, and then we're going to go over to Options, go to Open File Explorer 2, and we're going to open it to this PC. So now it's always going to open to this screen. And then just for the privacy thing here, we can get rid of all of the recent apps that ever get open. We can go up here into the little directory bar here. You can see the little computer icon, this first arrow here. We can click this and just go to Control Panel. In Control Panel, again, on the address bar at the top, click that down arrow to the right side of Control Panel. Go to All Control Panel Items. Go to System. Okay, this is different. They've changed this. This isn't the normal screen that comes up. So depending on when you're watching this video, if you're on a version after, when is this build going to be coming out? April 2021. So if it's April 2021 or later, you'll see this screen. But until then, you're probably not going to see this, and you're going to see the current one, and it's the white screen that comes up. And then there's a bar on the side here where you click on Advanced System Settings. Here, I'm assuming that's the right one. Yeah, that's the right one. It'll say Advanced System Settings over on the left side on a white panel. On the newer version, it's over here on the right. So we're going to click that. Under Performance, go to Settings. We're going to adjust for best performance. That's going to get rid of all of the different animations and things in the background that we really don't need. We're going to go to Smooth Edges of Screen Font. So that's going to at least keep the fonts looking really smooth. We're going to show window content while dragging, so that way when you're dragging a window, the actual window moves. And we're going to show thumbnails instead of icons for pictures. Here, if I uncheck this one and you drag, it just puts this box around. So then that's where you think the window's going. I like to keep the content on there, so that way when you're dragging a box, the whole box moves. Now that that's done, we have a very minimal setup. We have a few icons in here. The microphone will go away once OBS is done recording, so it'll just be a few in the corner here. We have all of the icons narrowed down. All of these tiles are gone. Now we just have to get rid of all of these apps. Look at them all. Look at everything pre-installed here. I'm not going to be using any of these. The first thing that I want to do is download a script, which I will have linked in the description. But once you've downloaded the files that I have linked in the description, we can go to Downloads or wherever you ended up downloading it. The first thing that you're going to see here before we actually open this, now that we have a file in here, it's grouped by dates, and I hate the groups. I like the old setup where it just puts everything alphabetical. So we're just gonna go view, go over to group by, and we're gonna go to none. So now it's just going to be in line with everything that goes. So now we're gonna open this. We're going to extract this back to downloads. So now that we have it extracted, we can open this folder. We're gonna go to the README text file. We're gonna open that, and then these commands here have to be done first. So we're gonna go to the start button, and we're gonna just start typing in PowerShell. And you can see that it's already coming up, so this is significantly faster than actually searching for apps. And we're gonna go down to Windows PowerShell ISE. Then in here, we're gonna run this as administrator. Now with this loaded, we're gonna go back to that text file. We're gonna copy from here. This PS means PowerShell, so that's our PowerShell prompt. We don't need that, so we're just gonna copy this piece right here. In here, we can just paste that, hit enter. We're just gonna hit yes to all. Before we move on to doing the next command here, we're gonna go back to this folder here where we have all the scripts, and we're gonna open the scripts folder. We're gonna right click on any one of these, go to properties, and then right here, the location, we wanna copy this, the whole thing, all the way to scripts. We don't need the name of the file, we just need the location to where the file is. So we're gonna copy that. We're gonna go back to PowerShell ISE. We're gonna type in CD space, and now we're going to paste the location that we just copied. So now that we're in this directory, we can go back to our notes, copy this line here, and now that's gonna unblock all of the files that are in this folder. So now we can paste that in. All of the scripts that are in that folder are unblocked. We can just open them. We can go to the first one here, scripts, block telemetry. So now Windows is not gonna report back to itself. We can go through it and you can review things all down here if you want, but for most part, it's all taken care of. Run the script, and we can run that once. Now you can see right here in the command prompt that it's actually going through and it's blocking all the telemetry stuff to Microsoft so it can't report back home. We're gonna open another one, and we can block services. So that way it's not gonna do any services in the background. So that's gonna be like Windows updates and everything that are always running in the background, just like all of these apps that it was pre-installing into the start bar here. For me, I'm going to leave this because this is a developer preview, and being a Microsoft developer, I'm actually gonna want some of these still running. Normally you should be using the entire operating system vanilla, but I'm doing something completely different, and we're not even gonna be getting into that. Let's open another script here. Windows Defender Disabler. So you can completely disable Windows Defender if you don't want it at all. So that way you have absolutely no virus protection, but then you have nothing running in the background, which will be the best for performance. The experimental, we're not gonna touch that right now. There's a lot of issues with that one. We're gonna fix the privacy settings. So that's going to also help the computer to stop talking back to Microsoft to report information on you. We're gonna run that once as well. And you can see it's going through here. Some of them don't work because they're made for older versions of Windows, but for the most part, a lot of them did work, and the remaining one did work. So now the permissions are all safe. We're gonna open another script, optimize the user interface. So that's gonna disable even more things than we did to registry editing level. So we're gonna run that script. This one right here, we're not going to touch that one. At least I'm not, because I still have to do all of the Windows updates for this. And this being a dev channel build, there's pretty much a new update every single week. I need this one to still be available. But for a gaming computer or something in an office where you don't want the employees updating everything right away, excellent choice for this. And then you can download the updates manually onto a USB stick and just update the computers that way. Or you can send them out as a batch update to all of the computers at once with administrative privileges if you're the head of the IT division. Remove OneDrive, definitely going to be using this one. So that's completely removing OneDrive entirely from this computer. Now, I don't have anything against OneDrive, I just use Google Drive and it's cheaper. That's the only reason. You get twice the storage for the same price as OneDrive, and the only benefit of OneDrive is you get Microsoft Office, but I don't use that anyway. Realistically, there's no use for me personally to be using OneDrive, but there's really nothing wrong with it. The last script here, which is the one that I saved for last, is the default apps. This is the mother load. This is going to remove all of the applications in here that it possibly can. And as far as right now to date, there's a lot more you have to do to get rid of Cortana. So that's going to remain. But if we go through this list, you can actually see all of these programs here. And if you just uncomment these, now it's going to remove Microsoft Sticky Notes, Windows Photos, I'll keep that one, Windows Store. This one cannot be reinstalled unless you do a full installation again. So if you really don't want the Microsoft Store on your computer, that's what you want to remove. For me, I'm going to keep that because I am going to be using that, but you can just keep going through. And there's more. OG Microsoft Paint. You can actually uninstall Microsoft Paint. New York Times, that's not included in this, but I'm going to uncomment it anyway, just in case there are background files that say that it can be downloaded after. These applications here cannot be uninstalled with this script. Bio Enrollment, Microsoft Edge, Windows Cortana, Windows Feedback, Xbox Game, Xbox Identity, and then Contact Support. The main one here is Cortana. That can't be removed through this method, and there's a lot more work you have to do. So just having it disabled, so it's not going to come up with a button, it's not going to come up with a hot word. We didn't set it up on the install. Having the app just sitting here, it's just there. That's it. I just leave it. It's not getting in the way from anything else. Gone through that, we've added a few more apps that we want to remove. For instance, if you want to save apps, you can just comment them in and it'll save them. If we want to save the weather, we can just go in front of it here, comment that in, and now it's going to save the weather app. So it's not going to remove that one in the script. So now we can start, and in the future I don't want to show that dialog, so okay. And now it's removing all of these applications from the computer. That script is done. We're done with the scripts entirely. Go to the start button here. You can see that pretty much everything's gone. That's it. That's all we have now. As you can see, we left the weather app and it's still here. We're gonna go back to Edge and we're gonna search for the new Edge, which is Chromium based, and that's gonna be the default browser on this laptop. Just accept and download. We can just run this and it's gonna take care of the rest. So now we have the new Microsoft Edge, which is Chromium based, installed. We're just gonna go get started. We're gonna go to focused. That's just gonna essentially eliminate all of the random things. So inspirational has like a background and stuff. Informational is tons of news articles and things. And then focused is just the absolute bare minimum. So minimalist, bare minimum. So that's the one that we want. So we're gonna confirm that. Now, if you use Edge across multiple devices, I don't. I use Linux on everything, and the Edge development channel you can't sign into on Linux. So there's no point in doing this for me. But if you use Edge on your phone, then you can click this and you can open up a page there and then send it to your phone, or vice versa. So if you're looking at something on your phone and then you get home and want to look at it, then you can just send it to your computer and then you can continue looking at it on the computer. That's a great feature that they finally implemented into this. It's been in Firefox and Chrome for a really long time. So switching over to a Chrome-based browser for Microsoft Edge was a very, very great choice. So we're just going to confirm, just like Chrome, you can install extensions and save a bunch of tabs as collections. Right now, we're just going to thin this out a little bit. We're going to go up to the top right, 3 dots, and we're going to go down to settings. In settings, I'm going to raise as much security protection as I can, so I'm going to make this strict. So there's the least amount of tracking as possible. We're going to scroll down a little bit. We're going to go to choose what to clear every time the browser closes. I'm going to clear browsing history and download history every time the browser closes, but I'm going to leave everything else so that way it stays signed in and remembers my passwords. Do not track requests is already enabled. On the public release of this, I believe that is unchecked, so you have to check that one manually. So now we're going to go to appearance. Right at the top here, we can switch this to dark mode, so now it matches the rest of the computer. All of these icons up here at the top, we're just going to get rid of all of those. We're going to get rid of the home button, we're going to get rid of the favorites button, we're going to get rid of the collections button, and then the favorites bar, we don't want it on anything. It's getting thin. We're losing a lot of bulk that's there. If we just go back to the privacy and search, we have the address bar and search. We can actually go in here and we can change this to Google, or for added security, DuckDuckGo. So now we can open a new tab and you can see that there's still a lot going on here. Right here you can see this little Bing icon, so if we just type in nothing and search, it's going to come up with a Bing search. But if we go to the top and type in nothing and search, it's going to use the browser that we selected, which was DuckDuckGo. Have Bing search if needed, and we have DuckDuckGo at the same time, or Google search, or whatever you ended up selecting that as. We're done in the settings, so now we can change this screen. To get here, you just open a new tab. So this is going to be your main home screen that it ends up opening to. In here, we're just going to go to this little gear right in the top right corner, go down to custom. So we've already picked the focused area, but we're going to go to custom. And now in here, we can get rid of these quick links. So now all those web pages are gone. The grading here is just going to show the weather from wherever your current location is. So you can turn that off if you want. I'm going to leave it on. You can put image of the day. You can put your own image, custom theme, whatever. We're going to leave this just as like a minimalist dark theme. But then the content headings at the bottom here, that's all of these along the bottom. So if you're here and you scroll, it goes to those news articles. I don't want any of that. So we're going to go back to this little gear here, go to custom, and we're going to go down to the content at the bottom here. And we're just going to make sure that this is off. It's off completely and you can't scroll. So now we just have a very clean minimalist browser. Lastly, we're just going to go back, go to advanced, and we can turn off new tab tips because we don't need tips on a new tab. Just remove this icon. This is specifically for me or anyone running a beta or dev channel build on the Windows Insider program. To get rid of this watermark, there's a pretty quick tool. Universal Watermark Disabler. And then right here from WinArrow, I'll also have this linked in the description as well, so you can just download it directly from the description. The download link to the file, it's already downloaded, it's a very small file. You can go to downloads, this zip folder right here. Just take this out, because I am going to be using this after every update that I have to do, which is almost weekly like I mentioned earlier. And this is it. As soon as we run this, it's going to remove this. So now I'm just going to click install. And it's just telling us this is an untested build, which is fine. It's never signed out automatically. Now we're being signed in, and you can see that we have a very clean Windows 10 setup. So we don't have a watermark in the bottom. There's not tons of icons in the corner. We don't have tons of clutter down here. There's not a ton of apps going on in the background. We can open the File Explorer. We just have the hard drive here, and then we have the quick access for the rest of everything to go to wherever we need to go. And the entire computer is running significantly lighter than it was. Now, just one final thing that I like to do here is just going to settings again. I'm gonna go to personalization. We're going to change the desktop background, and we're gonna do the same thing on the lock screen. I'll also have this linked in the description as well, so you can literally replicate this entire build. There we go, nice, clean setup, the material, style, background. So now if we just quickly log out, you can see the blurred wallpaper for the lock screen. That way it gives a little bit of depth between the clock and everything. And then nice gray background for the login screen. Then once we log in, we get the nice crisp 4K wallpaper, even on our 768p display. But you can essentially replicate this entire design up to a 4K monitor with these wallpapers. And everything's ready to go. And that's basically it. It's a complete lightweight slipstream version of Windows that you built yourself with only the things that you want. And then you can build this into something significantly more by changing as many programs as you want, running better third-party programs than the pre-installed ones, like VLC for your music and videos. That's basically it. This is my minimalist, debloated version of Windows 10, trying to make it as clean and as modern as possible without getting into running anything else that could use third-party themes. This is to try and get the most out of the system itself without adding anything else to it for customization. Well, that was it. That's how to take just a regular run-of-the-mill copy of Windows 10 that you can get directly from their website, or just buying a laptop that has Windows 10 already on it, and just getting rid of everything that fills it up and gives Windows the bad rap that it has. At least the bad rap for the things that we can fix. I would highly recommend a lot of these tweaks if you're into gaming, as it can take tons of things that are running in the background robbing resources and put that towards gaming to get better performance. If you have a laptop, this is going to get better battery life because there's so many processes in the background that won't be running. If you're low on storage space, this clears up tons of free space because it's getting rid of all of the programs and everything that it pre-installed for us. So it's definitely worth looking into. At least some portion of this could be fulfilled. There's use cases here for pretty well everything that I've looked into. Now, as for the browser, I do use Firefox. I'm not huge on how much RAM Chrome uses, and the new Edge being Chromium based is actually really good. However, like I said, I primarily use Linux, and the developer build of Microsoft Edge for Linux you can't sign into, so there's no use going cross-platform across everything. The whole reason I set it up in this video was we were going for the lightest experience possible, which meant not installing any third-party programs. So given that Microsoft Edge is already included and you can't remove it, this is the bare bones, get it working, and then from there you can build off of it into something significantly better. If there's anything else that you thought that I could have touched on or need help with any of these issues, feel free to leave a comment down below. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe to the channel, or don't. I don't know, I'm not telling you what to do.